Okay, welcome back to the show. Episode 690 of the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4. Um, so I did miss the Minnesota Twins series last week. Aaron Judge, Luis Heel, and Luke Weaver were the three Yankees I decided to tip my cap to from that series. And I was on track to miss this Dodgers series, but because I've been under the weather the last week or so, as you can probably tell if you're listening to this. But we're back. We're going to get through this episode. Probably not going to be the usual, 45 minutes. It'll maybe be more along, 30 minutes, just because I'm still trying to get my voice back and I'm still a little bit under the weather. But we'll get through it. The Yankees just finished up a series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who came to town, and the Yanks dropped 2 out of 3. We'll talk about that here in 690 of BD4. So let's just dive right into it, and we'll get into the show. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, MMA on occasion. Let's get to it.
Anthony for three. That one goes down, and the game is tied.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
The Yankees are champions of baseball. Shaking and baking right here on the neophyte.
Trying to close the show.
She was doing a great job of feeding.
It's over.
Don't you regret not coming to the net? Don't you regret not coming to the net?
Game over. World Series over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
Okay. Welcome to the show. Episode 690 of the podcast. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. You are listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Give me 1 second here. Let me just do something. All right. Yeah. The Yanks dropped 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, who came into town. This was a very hyped up series. You could tell, Fox, ESPN, Apple TV Plus, just the MLB trying to really, really drive this thing as this potential World Series matchup. The production value was up. And they were bringing in, special guests like Tori was coming on talking. They were really trying to milk this whole thing. Yankees-Dodgers, of course, has good money for baseball. Kind of lost some of the hype when you find out Juan Soto left the final game of the Twins series with the inflammation and that he wasn't going to play a single minute or a single second in this Dodger series. So it kind of took a little bit of hype away. But, I always want to beat the Dodgers. There aren't many fan bases in baseball and really in sports that I hate more than LA. I hate LA fans. I have just a strong distaste for them. I think they're soft. I don't think they're close to being the diehard fans that East Coasters, New Yorkers are. I think there are a lot of bandwagon fans who just wear it for the brand. They just wear the hat because it looks cool. Or, I have a strong, as a diehard sports fan, I have a strong distaste for those kinds of people. And so I really, really, really dislike LA people. So I wanted this series more than anything, especially when there were a decent amount of Dodgers fans in attendance, not as much as I would expect. I expected them to be a lot more loud, and I expected there to be a lot more Dodgers fans than they were. But there wasn't as many as I thought in the Bronx. Still, I have a strong dislike for them, so I wanted the Yankees to go out there and pound them into the dirt. That didn't happen. In fact, the Yankees in Game 2 were pounded into the dirt, and they lost 2 out of 3. Still, as a baseball fan, this was probably fun watching, and I think I got some takeaways, and we'll get to it. I would like to say that we found some things out about this Yankees team. I think we were all living in like this, blue skies, everything's great, la 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 land. Where everything was going so well. It's kind of a reality check. The Yankees now dealing with some injuries. Juan Soto being the latest to go down. You had a bunch of ups. Now you have a couple downs, and all of it's now here. So this is kind of like the Yankees getting into the thick of the 162, where you're gonna have to take hits, and we found that out. So we found some things out that maybe we weren't discussing during that 8-9 game win streak, whatever it was, because why, right? Why discuss it when things are going well? But we'll talk about that. And I guess the main takeaways that we're going to get into in this episode when we dive in a few seconds, a few things that I jotted down and put on social media last night, some takeaways. The first one was there are quite a few upgrades to make. I would like to make some infield upgrades before the deadline. I also need to see the Yankees start beating top competition more. Division leaders. We'll talk about that a little bit. I think the bullpen's going to need a couple of upgrades as well. That's been a thing all season we've been hitting on. Stanton might not be an everyday player, and I think the Martian should be up here because of that. That might be more unpopular. And the Yankee starters were the worst they've been in a while in this series, and still, at the end of the day, each and every one of them held their own. Nestor was not good, but at the end of the day, kept the Yankees in it. Poteet didn't go deep into the game, but he continues to keep the Yankees in it. And then Game 3, it was... Who the hell pitched Game 3? Let me go check. Now I can't fucking remember. Game 3, it was... Luis Hill, who his worst start in a while, and he also kept the Yankees in it. And then my last takeaway here is Juan Soto, right? I think that speaks for itself. The guy is so amazing that you're seeing the impact when he's not in there. So we'll talk about all of that in this episode, and hopefully Soto's okay. The Yankees love to lie. They lie, and then they lie some more. Initially, it was not even a thought that he'd be on the DL. And then you get, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday, I'm recording this on Monday the 10th, Boone says that it's now a possibility. But then the latest update on him is that he should be available for this Royals series, so I'm expecting him to at least miss a couple of games, and a couple games meaning 2 of the 4, because it's a 4-game set coming up, and he'll probably be back for Game 3 or 4. So I just hope that's like the best case, in my opinion. You hope that when he gets back out there, the thing doesn't flare up again, because it's the same thing Cole has. It's inflammation. So was that enough time off? 3 games plus a couple in Kansas City, so it'll be 5 games, let's say. Is that going to be enough time? So we'll find out. But let's dive into it all. Again, missed the Twin series. Judge, Heel, and Weaver getting my salutes from that series. But this Dodgers series, the Yankees lose 2 out of 3. Salvaged it by avoiding the sweep in Game 3. So that was the positive. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about this series. Let's get into it all. And we'll do that the second we get back from our first break here on the podcast. Be right back here on BD4 episode 690.
Hey there. Thanks for listening in so far. If you enjoy this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much. You can follow us on social media as well. On Instagram, we're at BD4Pod and at Rob J. Carbone. On X, we're at BD4Pod and at RJCBD4. And on Facebook, we're BD4.
All right, welcome back to the show. Game one of this series was an extra innings loss for the Yankees. The Yankees dropped this one 2-1 in 11 innings. This was Cody Poteet, the right-hander, going up against the righty Yoshi Yamamoto. Poteet, we'll get to his outing a little bit later. But the bullpen came in after Poteet went 4 2/3, and they were pretty good up until Ian Hamilton had to come in, and he was maybe pushed a little too much, left in a little longer than he usually is, and he gave it up. Top of the 11th comes, Hamilton's in, Ohtani is the fake Manfred runner on second. He walks Freeman to put guys on, first and second with one out. And then Hernandez comes up to the plate and rips a 2-run double on a slider that was left up a little bit. And it's 2-0 Dodgers. The Yankee bats, who were very bad without Juan Soto in this game, did respond with a run in the bottom of the 11th. Volpe was the ghost runner. Verdugo goes to the plate. He strikes out, but then Aaron Judge comes up in the 3-hole, and he picks up an RBI single to make it 2-1, scoring Volpe. Stanton strikes out after that. He had a horrendous series. And then Rizzo pops up to lose the game. So that was that for the Yankee bats. They could not figure out Yamamoto, who went 7 scoreless. Tough guy to hit. He was throwing extra hard in this game. He has a lot of late break on his stuff. It's hard to pick up with that delivery sometimes, and he's been good for the Dodgers. He's been everything as advertised. He kind of got off to an inconsistent start, but he's figured it out. As a 3 ERA, is picking up some strikeouts, is giving them, usually 6+ innings. So he's been solid, but the Yankee bats were not. 1 run on 5 hits, 4 singles, 12 strikeouts, a double play hit into, and they were 1 for 8 in the scoring position. Tough games for Gleyber Torres. Was too casual on that pop-up, drops the ball. That's classic Gleyber Torres. That he continued to make another error in game 2. But also a tough game for Trent Grisham, who we'll obviously talk about after game 3. But in this one, the guy couldn't lay down a bunt. Multiple attempts, popping it straight up, fouling it off. As a 4th outfielder, you should have to be able to lay down a bunt to remain on a roster. And I know they were talking about Trent Grisham as a guy who's pretty good at bunting. He led the league in sack bunts or something they said last year or last couple years. I forget what the stat was. That was awful. And for him to not be able to execute a bunt in extra innings there when we needed him to, disgusting. And so the Yankees lost that game. That was game 1, again, where they lose 2-1 in extras. Game 2 of the series, the Yankees lost 11-3. I turned this game off, once it started getting out of hand. Nestor Cortez wasn't good, isn't very good. My sentiments remain with him. When his location's not there, he is a batting practice pitcher because he just gives up home runs countlessly. Gave up a couple more home runs in this game because his location was not there. You can't throw mediocre fastballs middle that sit 91 to 95 and expect to get away with that. That's not good enough in today's game. That's below average. You can't do that. And when you don't throw hard and you're not locating those fastballs, those cutters, that's not going to bode well for you. And so he continues to do that in his outings where he's not sharp. And he was not sharp. And so the bats had to do a little more work than they usually did. They usually have to, especially without Soto, but it was the same thing without Soto. There was not much production. Judge hit 2 home runs. The second one was more meaningless, but he had a couple home runs in this game. Everybody else kind of awful. The bullpen was it was the same shit. They were awful, and the grand slam there by Teoscar, and before you knew it, it was out of hand. Again, I turned it off, so I can't really give much. But the Yankees did salvage this and avoid the sweep in Game 3 with a 6-4 victory over the Dodgers. The righty Luis Gil versus the righty Tyler Glasnow. Bottom of the third inning, Oswaldo Cabrera, a leadoff base hit. Not a base hit, a leadoff solo home run. This was nice because this was the second they put Teoscar Hernandez on the mic, and the fact that Oswaldo just ripped a homer, hit the foul pole, it felt good as somebody who hates that guy. So that makes it 1-0 Yankees. And then Verdugo and Judge with back-to-back 2-out doubles. Judge with a double that maybe should have been ruled an E8, popped out of the center fielder's glove. Regardless, that scores a run. 2-0 Yankees. Top 5. You get the number 7 hitter with a double, and then Lux with a single. 1 second. This puts runners on first and third with 1 out. That's when Matt Blake comes out to visit Luis Gil, and then Luis Gil responds to that by striking out Hernandez. But then Betts comes to the plate, and this is just a tough hitter being a tough hitter. Beats him. Picks up the big game-tying 2-run double. It's 2-2. Top 6, Teoscar Hernandez then responds with the solo home run. The guy went off this series. It's 3-2 Dodgers. But Yankees respond bottom 6 when Verdugo and Judge go back-to-back base hits. And then Grisham in the 5-hole, right in the midst of the "We Want Soto" chants, with his odd swing, pulls the shit out of I don't know if it was a fastball, but picks up a 3-run home run to give the Yankees a 2-run lead, 5-3. That had to feel good. He was all class in his post game after. Yeah, that was cool. Top of the 8th, Ohtani, the leadoff double off Luke Weaver. Freeman moves him over to third base. And then you had Will Smith with a sac fly to Aaron Judge. Ohtani tags. Didn't know he had the speed that he did. Makes it 5-4. But bottom 8, Judge picks up an insurance hit with a solo home run. His number 24th. His 24th on the year. 6-4 Yankees. That'd be your final. So the Yankees scored 6 runs on 9 hits. 5 extra base hits. 2 walks. A double play hit into 14 strikeouts, but they were 2 for 6 in scoring position. They got the Glasnow in the end. Ended up being 5 runs on him in 6 innings. It's impressive to do, especially without Juan Soto, to get a pitcher like him who's been having a really good year. And then the Dodger bullpen, it was just Ramirez, and they scored that 1 run on him in 2 innings. Luis Gil, 5 2/3. Excuse me, 5 2/3, 3 runs, 5 hits, a walk, 5 strikeouts, home run, 96 pitches, got the no decision. So yeah, it was not his best outing. He was spiking some of his off-speed stuff early on. Changeup was kind of yanking it. The slider a couple times was kind of going away from the slider because that's not his best pitch. Later in the game, kind of wore out a little bit. Maybe that's something the Yankees are gonna try to keep an eye on because of the innings or the limit that they have on him. Kind of throwing some BP in the final couple innings there. But he was due for a bad outing, and for a bad outing, this is pretty impressive because he faced his toughest lineup that he's going to face. It was the toughest lineup that Luis Gil's had to face in his career, and the fact that this was considered a bad outing for him now shows you the development and his progression, right? 5 2/3, 3 runs, you'll take that. That was what I think everybody expected him to do consistently this year, at best, right? So the fact that this is now his floor, hopefully, that's a really good thing. And this was the Sunday Night Baseball game, which I never liked this guy because I always felt like he was an asshole. Eduardo Perez is a fucking loser. That guy is a loser. Jesus. I mean, can you make it any more obvious that you don't like the New York Yankees? Oh my God. Oh my God. It was really funny. It got so obvious. It's like, okay. But yeah, I don't know, man. The Sunday Night Baseball hasn't been the same since Joe Morgan and John Miller left. I don't know. It's too gimmicky for me. Like the mic'd up segments, they ask dumb questions. They try too hard. Like it's very gimmicky, and like I've always hated the mic'd up segments. A guy's in the middle of a fucking game. He's not trying to talk to you. And like a couple of times this series, those guys were talking and they had to go field balls, and it's like, fuck, let me do my job. I would hate that. But that was it for Game 3. So again, I want to get into some of the takeaways, and we'll do that when we return here from our break here in episode 690 of the podcast. Stay with us. Be right back.
If you're interested in our website, just go to www.bd4blog.com. You can subscribe to our blog on there right on the front page. Just like on the podcast, we cover Yankees, Knicks, and MMA. Also on our website are the links to the different platforms for the podcast. Thanks so much.
Welcome back to the show. Episode 690 of the podcast. The Yanks lose the Dodgers series, but they avoid the sweep. So yeah, like it was all fun for a while there, and it's still obviously going to be fun going forward. This is a good Yankees team, and anybody who tells you it's not a good Yankees team is just a miserable fucking piece of shit. It's a good Yankees team. But it was a little bit of a reality check, even without Juan Soto, which we'll talk about that part in a second. But like, you know, we are, 60 something games in, maybe 70 games into the season here. And the Yankees have beat up on a lot of bad competition, a lot of mediocre competition, and they've beaten some solid competition, right? They've beaten Seattle, they've beaten Cleveland, they've beat Milwaukee, all division leaders. I don't take those three clubs too serious. Threats, I consider like Baltimore a threat, and I consider the Dodgers a threat. The Yankees are now 2-5 against Baltimore and LA. So I want to see them beat up, or at least beat those top competition teams a little more. So the fact that they lost 3 out of 4 to Baltimore already this year, and they just lost 2 out of 3 at home to the Dodgers, it's unfortunate. I want to see a little more, because I was calling this team, a World Series team. Like, they have a lot of work to do. I want to see, they play Baltimore in about a week. I want to see how that goes. That's an even bigger series for me. And then they play the Philadelphia Phillies in late July. So those are 2 big series that I'm going to be keeping my eye on next. Those are kind of much like this Dodgers series, where I'm just going to be like, who is this Yankees team? All the other teams that they play can't really take too much away. So I'm kind of trying to temper my expectations during the highs, because at the end of the day, listen, the regular season doesn't mean a lot, right? You can win 110 games, which is around the Yankees' pace at the moment. But I want to see what they look like in those matchups. I want to see how those rosters match up. Jesus Christ, how those rosters match up. And it's just nice to beat those teams that have bragging rights and be an asshole. So, Baltimore, LA, Philly, you want to see more. So I just want to see how those series go the rest of the way, because so far, when the Yankees have faced top-notch competition, it's not been as good as you'd like it to be. And yes, like, of course, Juan Soto missed all 3 games this series, did not see a single at-bat. And those 2 losses kind of reminded you of 2023. With when Judge was out, it's like, wow, where's your production coming from? Soto was out, and the Yankees produced 1 run in the first game, and then they produced, 3 runs in the second game. And it's showing you the holes on this roster still, right? That there are not a ton of guys hitting, and there are a few spots where the Yankees are going to need to upgrade. Gleyber Torres, Anthony Rizzo, DJ LeMahieu. Those guys are problems. Those guys are problems. Maybe the first 2 more so than the last, but I'm not optimistic about LeMahieu. Like, I think Oswaldo Cabrera should... I think it's disgusting that they just gave LeMahieu his spot. No questions asked. Like, the guy was doing everything that he was supposed to do. Yeah, he cooled off, but he's, remember, not supposed to hit 400. Like, the guy was being productive. And he came into this series, and when he got his reps, he did his damn thing. He hit the home run. Like, he should be playing every day. I'm sorry. I want Oswaldo at third base every day. I think you want the youth there. You want the versatility to where he can play third, second, short, outfield. Like, you want the switch hitting bat who's capable of hitting righties and lefties. Like, at the moment, like, Oswaldo at third base and then maybe a platoon with DJ and Rizzo at first base wouldn't be the worst in the world. You know? I think I don't see the Yankees. They love to stick with their veterans too long, right? So maybe you see, Rizzo, there's been talk of him being benched now. Maybe there's a phantom DL stint coming up for some of these guys. But like they need upgrades. And Gleyber Torres, as well as Rizzo, on an expiring contract, neither are probably going to be back with the team next year. It's certainly not Gleyber. You got to try to get them out of here, even if it's for a couple of Pringles chips. Like, get them off the roster so they don't play baseball for my favorite team anymore, because I just cannot watch this anymore. Gleyber Torres, the low IQ, the dumb mistakes, and the fact that he's not a good base runner and he's not a good defensive player, and now he's not hitting the ball. I know he's been better, but he's been okay at best at the plate over the last month. He's not been great. Not enough to offset how bad he's been everywhere else. He's got to go. It's the same shit. It's always been the same shit. He's a losing player. You can't keep this guy on the roster if you want to win a World Series. Anthony Rizzo has completely lost power. No more power in that bat. He can't catch up to a fastball. Neither can LeMahieu. He's a singles hitting bum who can't even hit for a high average anymore. So if you're not hitting for power and you're not hitting for average, you're not getting on base, you're not a threat. He's supposed to be the lefty with pop. That's gone. And he's struggling at first base. DJ LeMahieu is washed up. The toe injury, the age, he's washed up. I don't think he has anything more than a couple singles since he's returned. He hasn't hit an extra base hit yet. He hasn't driven in a run. He's not even hitting consistently. He's not getting on base. He's not good. He hasn't been good since 2020 or the fake season. Like, this is a guy who fluked out. He came here. He had his fluke season. He had the 60-game schedule after that where he went off, and that was it. They extended him after that, and he's been absolute dog shit. I'm over those 3 guys. I'm over them. So by the trade deadline, I'm hoping they make some promotions. Maybe in the meantime they can do that. See what Peraza can give you right now. See what Ben Rice can give you right now. Hopefully, at some point in the second half, You get Jason Dominguez up here, right? I know there's a log jam, but I don't care. Figure it out. You're not keeping your franchise cornerstone in AAA because of, two guys with a 700 OPS and Trent Grisham. Like, Alex Verdugo is an okay player. Giancarlo Stanton's having an okay year. Trent Grisham sucks. Like, those three guys shouldn't be blocking your franchise guy. Stanton shouldn't be the reason. I don't care about the politics. I don't care that he's making big money. That shouldn't be a thing. That's disgusting. He's one-dimensional at this point. He can't run the field, can't play the field, can't run the bases. He can only swing the bat 4 times a game. And when he'll have his streaks. He's had a productive season. But when he faces good pitching, when he's going up against a good right-handed pitcher who's got a nice slider, guess what? He's done. He doesn't have a chance. He'll have a good week, then he'll have a cold week or cold 2 weeks. Like, it's Stanton at this point. I'm not saying he's washed because I was just singing his praises last episode. He's had a solid, productive season, but I think his best value is as a bench bat. Maybe throw him out there against left-handed pitching, right? And if you do that, now your bench opens up, or your DH spot opens up. You could put Soto, Judge, and the Martian at DH more than you want, more than you can now, which is important to keep those guys off their feet, right? Or like with Verdugo, he's not been great against lefties, so maybe it's that. Maybe Dominguez gets those left-handed pitchers at bats. I don't know, but you want him playing every day, right? So I think at the end of the day, those three guys, Stanton, Verdugo, Grisham, shouldn't be the reason that Jason fucking Dominguez is in AAA, board. It's important that he gets everyday reps. So, you know what? If you have to bring him up here and say, Stanton, you're going to ride the pine. You'll play a few times a week, maybe, but like you're going to be mostly a bench bat. Then so be it. Who cares? If you got to tell Verdugo, hey, so I like Verdugo, plays good defense. He's developed this new culture on the team, this dog culture. It's great. Jason Dominguez is the guy, and he's ready. So I think at some point I'd like to see him here. But yeah, like without Juan Soto in this lineup, you're seeing a difference. Just one guy can make that much of a difference. The guy's amazing at baseball. Volpe's on-base streak ended. Maybe that's because Verdugo was behind him and not Soto. All in all, it's you want to avoid putting too many eggs in one basket. And I think getting a couple more impactful bats in here should be something they look to do at the deadline, which is what I thought they should have done in the offseason, even after Soto. I was talking about Candelario. I was talking about Gio Urshela. I was talking about Matt Chapman even. Like, they chose not to. Bellinger, they chose not to. At the end of the day, though, I think before the trade deadline, you're really wanting the Yankees to be more than just a team who wins a lot of regular season games. And how do you build a World Series team? You got to make every move that you can make. And I think by August 1st, whenever the deadline is, I think that 2 of Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, Anthony Rizzo should not be everyday starters. 2 of those guys shouldn't be out there by then. So maybe Ben Rice gets a promotion. I think Jason Dominguez deserves that promotion. And I think you should also maybe get a couple relievers. Right. So I think the Yankees were exposed a little bit where it's a little too top heavy, relying on Soto and Judge. And how do you fix that? You cut some of the dead weights. And unfortunately, outside Anthony Volpe, you have a lot of dead weight in that infield. So you got to upgrade your infield. You have to upgrade big because I don't see it getting better with Gleyber Torres. I don't see it getting better with the 2 veterans in Rizzo and LeMahieu. So that's something the Yankees are going to have to seriously bite the bullet on, because I know they are very resistant to change with guys who've been here a while, and all three of those guys have been here for a little bit now. So that's that. We'll wrap this up with our salutes. We'll tip our caps to the three guys that we tip our caps to every series: a position player, a starting pitcher, and a relief pitcher. We'll do that, and then we'll talk a little bit about the upcoming series against KC. So let's do that when we return from our break here on BD4. Stay with us. Episode 690. Be right back. Studio 69 Productions is a podcast production agency created by Leo Rodriguez to allow content creators to market their podcast. It's an online platform that will market your podcast or any other project that you're working on. Get in touch with Leo Rodriguez from Studio 69 Productions. You can find Studio 69 Productions on Instagram at Studio69NJ. Studio 69 Productions, where dreams are heard and born.
Thanks for listening to BD4, where there is no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. We also do MMA, Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion.
Welcome back to the show, episode 690 of BD4. I appreciate you all tuning into the episode. We're tipping our caps. And how do you not tip your cap to Aaron Judge after what he did to the Dodgers this series? We're going to Judge. Aaron Judge this series against the Dodgers, 7 for 11, which is .637. 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 3 walks, which gives him a 2.350 OPS for the series. Hilarious. Only 2 strikeouts in these 3 games, 4 runs scored, 16 total bases. He was and continues to be absolutely incredible. And the fact that this guy was batting 170 at the end of April, and now, I mean, you look up and look at his numbers now. He's got MVP numbers. He's batting .305. His on base is .436. His slugging percentage is .703, which means his OPS starts with 2 ones. 21 doubles, 24 home runs. It's unbelievable how hot he's been. And I really want to, look at what those numbers are since the beginning of May. It's been absurd. And every night you're hearing this guy's name in the same conversations of DiMaggio, Ruth, and Gehrig. Constantly. DiMaggio, Ruth, Gehrig, Judge. It's just that's what he's doing right now. How, and I feel stupid, I was talking about, is Judge hurt? Is he this? Is he that? Well, no. It turns out baseball just happens like that. The 162, you're going to go through peaks and valleys. And Aaron Judge now tied with Juan Soto for the most cap tips on the team, or among the position players, with 7. This is his 7th salute of the season, so he's been unbelievable. He's ripping everything. Is just getting barreled. Tough at-bats, full counts. He's finding a way to beat the pitcher, and he continues to get the job done. So Aaron Judge, tipping my cap to you. Let's go to the mound. I'm going to go to Cody Poteet. Cody Poteet's done a nice job for the Yankees. In game 2, or was it game 1? In game 1 of the series, he goes 4 2/3, no runs, 2 hits, 1 strikeout, 3 walks, a hit batter. Couple singles were the only damage that he allowed. Got the no decision, but he was very efficient. Did his job. That's his 2nd salute of the season, and he continues to get the job done. He's now made 3 starts as a fill-in pitcher, and they've all been solid. This was an impressive one, considering he was going toe-to-toe with Yamamoto, facing a very tough Dodger lineup to navigate. But he's got a nice little pitch mix, 2-seam changeup. He goes changeup to lefties. He'll mix in the sweeper to right-handed batters. He likes to stay outside the zone, pitch on the edges and stays away from the middle, and he's not a guy who throws hard. Very much like Stroman, he pitches, and he's been getting the job done. So 3 for 3. Cody Poteet continues to get the job done. That's his second cap tip of the season, so good for him. To the bullpen we go, and we're going to go to Michael Tonkin. This is a guy who has been DFA'd, 3 times this season? Not a good pitcher, but he comes here. And, it was a rough beginning when he was thrown out there in the Milwaukee series over, Clay Holmes. That was a mess that a lot of us were frustrated over. But he came here, and he's been getting the job done. This is his first salute. And is he good? Is he another product of, Brian Cashman picking up trash and Matt Blake turning him into a gem? I don't know. I don't know if I'll go that far yet. It's not been a ton of appearances. It's been 13 appearances with the Yankees. But so far, he's gotten the job done. Michael Tonkin doing his thing, and he's gotten more high leverage situations. Boone has been going to him in high lev, and not my favorite thing in the world, but it worked this series. He made 2 appearances in this series, and he finishes with 3 1/3 innings in those 2 appearances. No runs, 4 strikeouts, just 1 hit, 40 pitches. So good, efficient job once again in games 1 and 2 by Michael Tonkin. So good for him. And that's it. Coming up, we have the Kansas City Royals series. Kansas City they've been, a lot of people thought they'd taper off, but I think they're for real. They've just found something. They've got a good chemistry. They're a solid team. They are second in the AL Central by 4 games behind the Guardians, but they're solid. Bobby Witt is obviously super impressive. He's doing really good things over there. They've got a good lineup that produces offense, a lot of doubles, singles, triples. Not a home run hitting team, but they beat you with hits. And they got a great rotation over there. Their bullpen is probably the weakest point of that team. So look for the Yankees to grind out at-bats against that bullpen. And hopefully Soto is back at some point in this series. But yeah, it is a 4-game set in Kansas City. So you got an 8 p.m. game tonight. It's going to be Rodon versus Seth Lugo. Seth Lugo has actually been very good for them. He's 9-1. His ERA sits in the low 2s. And then you got 8 p.m. tomorrow night. It's Stroman versus Singer, who's also been solid for them. And then 8 p.m. Wednesday, you got Cody Poteet. And then 2 p.m. on Thursday, Game 4, it's Nestor versus Marsh. So good team, the Royals, but they're still a team I would like to see the Yankees figure out and handle. Can you do 3 out of 4? That'd be wonderful. Without Juan Soto, I don't know. Is it tough? But I would like 3. I would like at least 3 against that team. Go be the Yankees and get hot again. So that's it, folks. I appreciate you all tuning in. I know we said we'd go only a half hour, and we ended up going 45 like we usually do, because that's how this works. I talk, and I like to hear myself talk, and I just yap. So that's it. We're going to wrap this up with our trivia question right now. All right. Our trivia question of the day for this episode: which Yankee reliever was the winning pitcher in Game 5 of the 2001 ALDS versus Oakland? Which Yankee reliever was the winning pitcher in Game 5 of the 2001 ALDS versus Oakland? Kind of a random question, but if you can get it, you'll probably feel really good. All right, so that's it. That's all we have for episode 690 of the podcast here. The Yankees lose the Dodgers series, but they avoid the sweep with a winning Game 3. Learned a few things, but overall, this is still a good Yankees team, and you still have time to make these acquisitions that you need to make, these promotions that you probably should make. Will the Yankees do what they have to do? I don't know, man. That's going to be the next question, right? Have they really changed from previous years where they are willing to cut bait with guys they don't want to cut bait with? That's going to be the next big question. So we will find out in the coming months. But as for now, we've got Kansas City next. The Yankees go there to take on the Royals for 4 games, so that should be fun. Appreciate you all for tuning in. I'm your host, RJ Carbone. Episode 690 is in the books. And I'll see you in the next episode. Appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you all. I'll see you later. This episode was brought to you by Anchor.
Hey there! If you stayed the entire way through, we thank you immensely for it. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and that you come back for the next episode real soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, download these episodes, and share them with your friends as well. BD4 is a 5-star podcast simply because of you. And we'd like to keep it that way. Have a wonderful day. Go Yankees and go Knicks!